disasters destroy houses and infrastructure, killing and displacing people, or exposing them to disease and injury.
The floods hit our village very badly. People had to flee their homes because of the rising water.
They can destroy agriculture and livelihoods, forcing hunger and hardship onto people and increasing deprivation.
We suffer when there is drought. Most children cannot go to school and others fall sick because there's nothing to eat.
All this despite billions of dollars spent on development programs aimed at halving hunger and poverty. In short, disasters are holding back progress towards the Millennium Development Goals.
I think historically what organizations, implementing partners as well as government, we were only reacting to the disasters that have happened. But the recent years, there has been a change or a shift in the paradigm where we are looking at addressing the causes of those disasters. Because a disaster only happens when a hazard comes and meets a vulnerable person. So we want to reduce that vulnerability.
This film examines some of the development origins of this vulnerability. In the foothills of the Himalayas in northern India, an entire city, Shimla, is living in unsafe conditions.
When you see the urban centers, let's say take for example Shimla. Shimla may not be falling in a high seismic risk zone, let's assume, but it is very vulnerable because the density of population is very high.
An earthquake in a place like this would be catastrophic, killing and injuring many tens of thousands of people and destroying houses and infrastructure, just as the earthquake in the Indian state of Gujarat did in 2001. Decades of development were wiped out in less than a minute.
The earth started heaving almost a foot high at times. We were absolutely terrified. I thought the earth would open up and swallow us. Then buildings started collapsing all around us.
Children are particularly at risk from unsafe school buildings collapsing on top of them. This is exactly what happened in the recent earthquakes in Kashmir and China.
If there is no such action plan, then things will continue happening the way they were, and people will continue building the houses where they were, the way they've been building for past 100 years, and we'll continue having disasters after disasters.
Malawi has experienced several food crises over the past decade, but these were not simply caused by droughts, as is often reported.
Climate change, not only in Malawi, has caused a number of changes as regard to the season. There has been a change pattern in terms of the rain patterns, and this has also caused a lot of more floods in some times, as well as drought and some dry spells, which in effect people have harvested less.
Changes in climate may occur alongside other pressures such as deforestation, soil degradation and river silting. These can wear down a family's resources and resilience, so shocks such as late or severe rain can push whole communities to the point of disaster.
As hazards impact more frequently and are more severe, if they're meeting increasingly vulnerable communities, communities that don't have fallback plans, they don't have livelihoods that are resilient or can withstand that impact, it means that communities are being sent into a downward spiral. The poor will keep getting poorer, development gains will be lost.
Many communities in Guatemala are affected year on year by serious floods after tropical storms and heavy rain.
Las familias han perdido, por decir así, frutas.
Families lose their crops. Fruit, seedlings, corn and tomato plants, everything is lost. Some families have even lost their land, with water invading 70% of their land. They can no longer live there.
People had started to realize that flooding was happening more often and becoming more severe because the rivers had become blocked with silt and rubbish and riverbanks had collapsed. This river near Campamento de Barita had not been maintained for over 30 years. Planning regulation and government policies on maintaining natural resources are often insufficient, outdated, or have been developed without consulting citizens.
To be honest, there's been a bad service from the local government for many years. But now we are doing what we can to make things work better.
Political, social and environmental issues such as these are at the heart of people's vulnerability to disaster and need to be addressed within development programs. In Shimla, India, a local NGO is taking preventative action, working with communities, the government and engineers to counteract some of the unsafe conditions which are increasing people's vulnerability to earthquakes.
We have fitted out 3 classrooms so that if an earthquake happens, things inside the room will remain secure and lives won't be endangered by things falling down.
In addition to measures such as these, they are also promoting resilient designs for new school buildings. Teachers and school children are learning about disaster risks and what they can do to protect themselves in the event of an earthquake. In Malawi, a local NGO is helping communities adapt to dynamic pressures such as changes in climate, deforestation and river silting, which are increasing their vulnerability to droughts and floods.
We are looking at small-scale irrigation so that they'll have enough food. We are also planting trees, afforestation, and in some cases we are desilting rivers in order to reduce the impact of floods.
In Guatemala, with help from local NGOs, the community in Campamento de Barita started a campaign in the run-up to the mayoral election to ask the government to help maintain the river, which had been flooding their villages for many years.
The way the river overflows is a bit complicated, but thank God it's not risen more than a metre, maybe 70 to 80 centimetres. But it is difficult in Campamento de Barita, where the river invades almost the whole community when it overflows. This is what really worries me. How are we going to solve this problem? With new embankments, or dredging, or with something else? We're trying to get this done by the government.
The community's determination eventually paid off, and together with the government, they developed a plan. The government provided the equipment to dredge the river, and local people are working hard to clear the river and build more secure riverbanks.
It's important to understand that a united civil society is helpful to a mayor and to their administration because the people's needs arise from there, and we can see them, and from there we can develop a strategy and a budget to solve the problems in the municipality.
It's clear that the causes of disasters have as much to do with social and political issues as with hazards such as earthquakes, droughts or floods. As such, they are deeply rooted in development. Development practitioners have a key role to play. Risk-sensitive development makes sense. It is cost-effective, it saves lives, and it protects investments. Disasters are a development concern. Ask yourself what you can do to make a difference.